I'm Steve Gilman, and this is Brand Story, where we help you build stronger, more sustainable brands by sharing insightful conversations with brand leaders, marketers, and professional storytellers. My guest today is Tim Huelskamp.
You really can't delight the customer unless you have incredible world-class talent. And that's one thing we've focused on incredibly here is just like, literally hiring the smartest people in the world, try to treat them like royalty. I think it was Sam Walton who once said, basically business comes down to how you treat your customers and are you taking care of the people? Because those are the folks that take care of your customers.
Tim is the CEO of 1440, a daily newsletter that helps keep over 4 million Americans informed. And it's news without motives and designed for all of us who are exhausted by the constant barrage of sensationalist, agenda-driven news. Before 1440, Tim was a private equity venture capitalist and was the founder of Fifth Star Funds and the principal at American Capital. Hi, Tim. Welcome to Brand Story, man.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks so much for having me. Super honored to be here.
Man, I'm so glad you could do it. I've been getting your newsletter in my inbox every morning for months and months, and I got to tell you, it is the way to get news. I love it.
Thank you. We appreciate that. It's awesome having you as one of our 4 million daily readers.
Yeah, and it's funny because leading up to this podcast, I had to keep checking how many readers you have. Because when I first started, reading it, it was like 3.5 million, and then it was 3.7, and now it's over 4. So you all are obviously growing.
Yeah, we are. I think that's a testament to the strong team we've built, and then the product we built. But also, I think especially here in America, I think folks are frustrated with knowledge and learning and news.
Yeah.
Love to go into that, but I think there's just we think we have a very clear lane on where we can continue to delight our readers every morning, which I think we're doing a pretty good job at, but trying to get better at every day.
Yeah, you can tell that you guys have a real passion for it, and it's one of those things. Like, I'd love to kick off by you telling me a little bit about how you and your co-founder started 1440 and why. Because I really see like you guys really got into this to solve a problem that I think even if some people don't know they have, it's a problem that a lot of us know we have, which is having to cope with the media that comes at us every day.
Yeah, exactly. So let's see. So I come from the private equity world, as you mentioned. So I used to take companies to scale $1 billion and sell them. Did that for about a decade. My co-founder Drew, he's a PhD scientist that worked on Capitol Hill. He was like a chief of staff on the Hill, very smart guy. And we're buds. And basically, we had the same problem, which was we're intellectually curious, smart people that love to learn. And we feel like the media landscape just makes it very hard on us. So basically, the way we thought about that was there's 2 ways the media wasn't delivering for us optimally. One, we call it comprehensive. So, by design, media is very niche or verticalized, right? You have sports, culture, technology, business, politics, local. And for the average person, like a smart, a doctor, banker, lawyer that doesn't have all this time, they don't have 2 hours to go look at all that. So we said, can someone just pull it all together for us in one place where we can get smart across all the verticals? So what's happening in the Middle East? Who's the latest company to IPO? What is CRISPR and why that matters for society? And even fun stuff like, fall foliage schedules and Michelin stars. Like, people want to know this interesting information, and it's all over the place. Could someone bring that together and make it really easy for us? Was point one. And then point two is, we look up to a lot of these media companies tremendously, but oftentimes you go to their sites and it's like they're trying to get you to vote a certain way, or there's just opinions in every piece. And don't get me wrong, we love opinion pieces. We don't think it should be in every written word. Or you go watch TV at night, and they just yell at each other for an hour, and you actually don't learn that much. Or you go to social media and try to learn, and you're sifting through is it misinformation? Can I trust this source? And again, for intellectually curious people that don't have a lot of time, it's why is this so hard? Can someone just make that easier? So with that 1-2 punch, we call it comprehensive, and then impartial, just the facts. Give me the information efficiently. We launched 1440. We actually sent it to 78 friends and family. Unsure if anyone else would care, right? Because we did the whole for the startup enthusiast minimum viable product process, right? So we rolled it out. We iterated on it for many quarters. But our small audience at the time really, really liked it. And we had a really high open rate, which is a quality metric in our space. We still have one of the highest in the space today. We saw a lot of organic growth as well. So people were forwarding it to each other. So we saw early evidence of what they call product market fit in the startup space. So it's people are liking it and people are sharing it with each other. So we kind of just kept going. And then, fast forward a couple of years later now, we're approaching 4 million. We're really proud of our audience too. About a third of them have a graduate degree versus about 10% of the United States. So again, a lot of like doctor, banker, lawyer, consultants, nurses, these people that like are really smart. We help them cut through all the extra stuff.
I mean, it makes a ton of sense because those kind of people, anyone, with an education, a busy life, a good job, or, just busy because of their family, doesn't have time to weed through all of the media landscape to find what they need. And you end up getting sidetracked anytime you try to find anything of substance. So I love the curation aspect of what you all are doing and the purpose, because a lot of the media, like you said, when you go to a media site, it's about fear. The headlines are to make you fearful so you'll come back and read more. The If you're on TV news, they're giving you the scary music and something that's designed to trigger you so you tune back in. And I love that you all don't do that at all. Like, it's a very just the facts educational approach.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think that's what Drew and I wanted when we started, and we thought that that
Yeah.
was what the market wanted. And then as we've like, yeah, built our product, they want it more and more. To your point, yeah, we try to just do just the facts. We also try to delight the reader and fascinate them. Like as I said,
Yeah.
the foliage schedules. We have a section called Humankind that goes on Saturdays, which is all the
Yeah.
uplifting stories that are happening all around. I think you don't always see those in the media, and they're really beautiful stories. We actually have folks write into us with a way that folks helped each other in society. So yeah, we just think that yeah, humans are much more beautiful than sometimes the media makes them out to be. And
Well, good for you, man.
we're not trying to be like, and we send traffic to
Oh,
all
yeah,
these
I know you
sources.
do.
We're friends of the media, but we just think that it's gotten too left versus right and too nichey over the years that there's this growing audience again that's like, can someone just tell me what happened yesterday and really help me understand things and help me be a smart, intellectually curious person across all these different verticals? Like it kind of went, it happens in a lot of industries, right? You kind of like
Yeah, it
overcorrect.
does.
So I think it just, there's a large audience that wants what we provide, and we're super grateful that we get to deliver that to them every morning.
I think what I love about it, and anyone that hasn't signed up for 1440, it's really easy. It's free. You just go sign up for it. And it's the best daily newsletter, at least for me, because it's curated by like a group of really intelligent, kind friends that they're not just sugarcoating everything and sending you just human interest articles about puppies. There's really good articles about everything from Gaza to politics, and then human interest, sports. You can tell it's curated by people who are really trying to find valuable tidbits, things that fit together but are also disparate, so that if someone's curious, they can sort of follow up and follow some different conversations. And I find that I look at different parts of it every day.
Thank you, Steve. I love that. Love how you described us. I think I'm going to borrow that going forward. It's beautiful. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. Like that's exactly what we try to do, and we have industry experts around. So like we have a scientist sourcing our science section.
Oh, that's cool. I was going to ask you that. Yeah.
Yeah, like I spent 10 years in the private equity world. I sourced our business section. So like, I'm already reading all that stuff every day and like
Yeah.
deeply passionate about it. Like, the latest company IPOing and the latest company raising a round and what Warren Buffett's doing. The first $1 trillion company happened yesterday, right? So,
Yeah. I saw
but
that.
the thing is, what we would learn is, so like a doctor, say, they might spend all their time going really deep on like the New England Journal of Medicine and science data. They want to learn about sports and business and politics and all these other things. They don't have the time, or sometimes they don't even know where to go. So to your point, we're just trying to serve them and say like, hey, if you're interested in knowing the big things of the day and all these different places, our hardworking team that loves this, like we try to hire people that love what they do and they're really passionate, and yeah, we pour our heart and soul into the product every morning. So it means a lot to me, Steve, that you can feel that kind of through the page. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah. And I think that's why you have so many subscribers, and what's interesting from a brand point of view and why I think the 1440 brand is so good is that you can feel the care and the attention to detail. And like, I didn't know you were doing the business section, but you're pulling out an article that if you had a really good friend that had been in the business world for years, it would be the thing that he talked to you about. It wouldn't just be everything, because no one can tell you everything. It'd be the coolest thing that he noticed yesterday or today or last night. So it feels kind of conversational that way. And I love how, if there's no way for any of us to be an expert on everything. So any good brand acts as a guide for the audience. So, the whole like hero, guide through the world, you all really do treat your audience like we're the heroes sitting out here and you're helping guide us to find information that will help us. And that's very unique in the media these days.
Appreciate that. Our readers are the hero. We wouldn't exist without them, and we try to treat them like royalty and just help them again, serve them, help them learn exactly what you said. So it's amazing that that's coming through, Steve. And I appreciate our whole team appreciates what you just said.
I think it's remarkable. And, the media landscape's been really challenging and difficult. There have been tons of companies, mergers, failures, and you all are a really positive success story of the last few years. And I think it's because of the care that's going into it. There's almost like a commitment to service going on that I can feel through the newsletter. I had Will Guidara, the author of Unreasonable Hospitality, who, owned 11 Madison Park, the restaurant, best restaurant in the world. And he and I talked about, that doing that little bit extra for the customer. And I feel like that's what the attention to detail that you guys go into really feels that way to me when I read the newsletter in the morning.
We talk about that's what our big principle is, just like delighting the customer every day. And I do think though, to your earlier point, you really can't delight the customer unless you have incredible world class talent. And that's
Yeah,
one
right.
thing we've focused on incredibly here is just like literally hiring the smartest people in the world, try to treat them like royalty. Like I think it was Sam Walton who once said, I'm a big fan of studying all the founders through
Yeah.
history, and he always said like basically business comes down to how you treat your customers and are you taking care of the people, because those are the folks that take care of your customers. But I spend the majority of my time on hiring and culture and the team here. And to your point, like media, I think there's definitely some wonderful companies in media, but it's a lot of I'm gonna try this new business, and then if it doesn't work, we just lay everyone off. And there's always stories you read about, and like we try to do the exact opposite of that. Like we've never the word layoff is not in our vocabulary. We only bring people in that we have like a home for decades. So we're trying to build like a little bit of a different company here that's more focused on people and people first, and then also is a little bit more like long term focused. I think a lot of companies, and maybe this is because of Wall Street and just how companies are operated today, but they think like in weeks or quarters, and we try to think in decades. So
Good for
everything we
you.
do is like how do we go long term and delight the customer, have the best team in the world, think in decades, have the longest view in the room, and yeah, it's starting to pay off. Like for a couple years, we've been doing this for almost 7 years now, and it's like a flywheel, right? So when you start, it feels like you really have to believe in it because you don't have the revenue and you don't have the audience, but you can see the early data around, especially in our space, around the open rate and the click rate and the metrics. So we could see how good that was. But now our business has been compounding for a couple years, so we're getting bigger and still have a long, long way to go. But it's been a really fun journey so far.
Man, I love that view on this. I mean, honestly, what you're describing is what I think sets apart great companies from average companies or good companies these days. Having a longer term view and human beings not being disposable is really a differentiator now for brands. So you're talking to a guy now, this is my 30th year of owning this company, and it's the same company, and we have incredible people, and we try to treat them as like gold because they're the ones that are going to make clients happy. And we're in marketing and brand, so we're around the media space. But you're right, the media space, like the marketing or advertising business, has become, layoffs are just a tool you use, and you over leverage yourself, and then okay, you got to scale up and scale down. So that's going to happen to the people. I just kind of feel like there's a movement in certain companies to do it the way you're doing it, and I really love that. I think you can tell in the product.
I agree. I think up until about what 2.5 years ago, SoftBank Vision Fund,
Yeah,
$100 billion, like venture, QE, free money. I think companies just, I get why they do it. Like they can take the money and someone's going to give it to them. And they can go try to shoot a big shot if it works. To be fair, like when these companies work, they work very well. It's just they don't often work when they go bad. The people are the first part to go, unfortunately. And we just said like, we don't want to do that. We want to take a more people first approach, and also just like less risky approach too. So, like get to profitability as fast as possible. We say control our own destiny, right? So we don't have um, investors that are like telling us what to do or how to spend our time or what we can go work on. And that's a huge advantage today. So
yeah,
we can
isn't it?
go explore a new product, and if it's not there, we gave it a shot, but it was out of our own profits of the company. We don't have to go get capital to do that. That's a massive advantage to be just have what we call like option value, right? We think that's really important.
Well, I love hearing that. And I think that's super cool, and I'm sure it makes the employees and all the people at your company happier because it makes them feel more secure that you're not operating that way. I've seen you write about this or other interviews with you where you talked about this little your time in private equity and in the world you were in before this. I'm sure you learned an awful lot from it. And there's so many founders that they just get too much investment, and it changes the way they behave. It changes the decisions they make, and they end up losing their company or losing interest in it. So do you think that what how you're doing this is a reaction to all the things you saw?
Oh, all day long. Yeah, not a coincidence. So so when I was on the investment side, we saw a couple companies. It was crazy back in 2000. What was it? Right before Lehman Brothers, 2008. We had a company that we were writing IPO papers for. The economy soured, and they had they were spending too much money, and had a $50 million annual burn, and the VCs got spooked and didn't put money in. And literally, that company went from writing IPO papers at like $1 billion valuation, I think it was,
Yeah.
with big time customers and big time revenue, to being out of business in a year. So I learned that firsthand. And I just, again, I don't want to come across the wrong way, because venture, when it works well, it's incredible. And it's like really important for our society too, because, like medical device innovation and all the
Yeah.
technology we have comes from that ecosystem. So it's very important, and I'm very pro VC, but I do think there are folks that don't always treat it the right way and maybe raise too much money. And then, kind of to your point, they're thinking like, well, I'm not profitable now, but maybe if I just invest a bunch of money, I'll get there. And like that doesn't usually work. Like, even if you look at, the famous stories like Amazon, obviously like one of the best companies of all time, people, Wall Street and everyone used to give them slack because they said that, the company's not profitable. Well, that was by design, right? If you looked at Amazon's core e-commerce business, it was very profitable. And then Bezos is
Right.
brilliant, and he was making 15 bets all of
Yeah.
AWS and all these different places, and was basically he's had an internal venture studio. So like once that turns off and you turn down that growth investment, the company's very profitable, and that's why you have $1 trillion business today. So it works really well a lot of times. But what scares me is when a company does not have that path to profitability, and they just keep raising, like hoping that it will come, but at their core the metrics don't work. I think that's where it gets scary. But again, like, if a VC is going to give you a bunch of money to go for it, and you own 20% of the business, and the thing might be worth $2 billion, and they're going to pay your salary for the next 5 years.
It's hard not to take your shot, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the analogy I use is like, imagine if you're at like the blackjack tables, and some guy was just giving you as much money as possible and said, try to turn one bet into $1 million, and then I'll give you 20% of it if you get there. And if you don't, no big deal. We're all aligned
Yeah.
on it. So it's a different animal. But we just saw the kind of the downfalls of it, and said like, we're not
Yeah.
we're not going to do that. But it was really because of the people. I don't want to. We don't want to hire people and then have them, just get rid of them like that. And also, I think we're on a brand show here to protect our own brand too. Like, we want to be known as a place that if you want to work here for the rest of your life, you can come work for us and not have to
Yeah.
worry about getting laid off, right? Or us just being like, we're not going to do that anymore, we're going to shut it down. That's not how we operate. So it's also like a branding thing too. This is the talent wars. The whole thing is, right? Like, we
Yeah.
got
It
to get the
is.
best talent in the world. We already have those people, but we need more of them. So we want to let them know that we're going to pay you above market. You're going to have equity in our company. We're going to treat you like royalty, and you don't have to worry about us uh, like laying you off. Now, to be fair, like if some catastrophic events happen and the business goes over,
Sure.
that's one thing. But we're like very profitable, and we have, every time there's layoffs in the media, which is quite often, on our Monday team call every quarter, I try to show the team like, hey guys, this is what their financial situation looks like, and here's ours. So we have so much margin of safety, as they call it in the investment world, right? Because
Yeah.
we're very profitable. So like, we could have a lot of things go really wrong, and our team will be fine. So don't worry about it. And like, then our employees don't have to think about that stuff, right? Which is really burdensome to always be worrying about that.
It is. And I think it changes the quality of the work. It changes the commitment people have to the work they're doing. It changes the forward thinking investment of their own talent and time. So I think I agree with you. I'm not, bashing uh, that way of doing business. But I think what has happened is it got Hollywoodized a little bit too, where anyone that's an entrepreneur thinks that's the path to success. And sort of because I've worked with some young entrepreneurs and they always think that that's the way, you know? But there is this other way that you're doing that I think makes for some really strong brands that will last. And I like seeing the balance because for a while, the other way was the cool way. You know what I mean? It's sexy. People like it. Being sustainable, making sure your employees are okay, and all that stuff isn't as sexy as the other thing.
Yeah, exactly. We talk about this with our PR firm all the time. Like I always call it like the Icarus stuff, right? So when you fly too close to the sun,
Yeah, right.
raise a bunch of money, you lay everyone off. They cover that. They don't like covering. You treat your people well, and you're a profitable business, and you kind of do everything the right way. They don't. It's fine, but we're just gonna keep doing it and keep getting bigger. And
Yeah, it doesn't have the inherent conflict that the media needs to really cover something. It doesn't have that like danger element to it. It's too thoughtful and sustainable to be that kind of story they want, which I think is amazing. So that kind of brings me back to your content and how you curate it. When I started first getting your newsletter, it reminded me of one of my favorite quotes. Believe it or not, it's from Stephen Colbert when he was doing his original show. And it was the promise that he made his audience. And the promise that he made his audience is, I'm not going to read the news to you. I'm going to feel the news at you.
Cool. I never heard that one.
You know, that's satirical. It's funny. It's ridiculous. But really, it sums up so concisely what the media does. You know, so every time I watch, you know, any network, they're always feeling the news at you, not just presenting the news to you. It's not educational, it's entertainment. The way that you all curate is the opposite of that. You have some like really cool standards, sort of the human first thing, the transparency and accountability. But this curation is a big responsibility, I would think. How do you go about making sure that you're not getting sucked into sensationalism, or you're not going with the thing that'll get more clicks, that you're really just sticking with it?
Yeah, totally. No, it's a great question. Something we think about often, and we like to say like we try to be like as unbiased as humanly possible because we know that
Yeah.
you can never like truly be unbiased. Like everyone has their own personal biases as well. I think we've been doing it for almost 7 years now, so we have a process down. Like we know which sources are generally devoid of opinions and extras and all that. So like we go to those, and like our internal kind of secret sauce and knowledge gets stronger every day with where these awesome sources are. So I think it's largely around that, and then also just to get back to it, like I'll say this a million times, just delighting the user, and like that's us still, right? So everyone on our team is our audience too. It's like
Yeah.
they're all curious, they want to learn these things. So if you look at like our top three section, what we try to do with it, so it's usually like 200 words ish. And what we try to do there is like if you're learning about what was in there, Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway hit $1 trillion yesterday market cap. So like I'm going to use that one because I'm know this
Yeah.
stuff better. But right, so most places would be like Warren Buffett or Berkshire Hathaway hits a trillion. We basically look at that and then we're intellectually curious, and you think to ourselves, okay, if I didn't know much about Berkshire Hathaway or Warren Buffett, like what would I want to know? Like what am I curious about, right? And then our editorial curator folks, they go down and they learn for like all day. Like it's happening right now for tomorrow's newsletter, right? So it's like, well, how many companies hit $1 trillion in market cap? And where did Warren Buffett start? And like what's been his compounded annual returns? And how is he different? And if I wanted to learn about Warren Buffett, is there a wonderful podcast that could teach me his ways
Yeah.
in an hour so I can go learn how he did it? Like from the best, right? So we try to think through, if I was going down this learning journey myself, I'm going to go do it for one person and then feed it to our 4 million friends, to your point. I think like that's the real important part, the love that goes into it. It's like we just have these really smart people on our team that are trying to figure it out for themselves. Like they're experts in this space, but they're curious. And then
Yeah.
they go
Right.
do all that work, and it takes a long time. It takes multiple hours to go do that
Oh,
work,
I imagine.
multiple hours a day, and the expertise as well. And like we do all that and give it to you, then you can read the thing in 30 seconds. And the thing is that we
Yeah.
try to do is, if you look at like the Warren Buffett piece yesterday, like we name all the future stuff, we just provide it for you in the summary. So when Berkshire Hathaway started, what his compounded annual returns are, how many companies have $1 trillion market cap, right? It's all there for you, so you don't necessarily have to go read the resources. If you want to, they're there, but we just give you the answer right in the page. And that's what people love about us as well, is like not only are we curating it, but we're summarizing the answer for you, and then you just become a really smart individual, and like almost everything going on in the world, not everything, but almost everything going on in the world in a few minutes. And then again, like we see that the average person clicks on like 2.2 items when they click, and it's really fascinating to watch what they click on. So some days it's science stuff, Some days it's, 538 coverage on politics. Some days it's, the best Airbnbs in the world. These people are so curious, and like we just give them this menu of information that's summarized, and then they get to like poke around and learn.
It's funny, I'm laughing because I think I did exactly that in this last week. Like I have no idea what I'm going to click on in your newsletter. And what I love about it, and I think what anyone listening would really respond to, is what you said. Like the Warren Buffett article is the perfect example, but I see this through a lot of the articles and a lot of the thoughts and areas that you all present, is that you give the answer. So you don't have to like work for it as an audience member. It's there. But then if you like, sometimes something that's written sparks my curiosity and I want to know more. And with any other news source, then I have to go do the work. If I want to know more, I got to go find it and then see if it's true, see if I think it's a good source. It's very time consuming. But you guys have the links right there. And I can click and go in deeper if I want. And I can go as deep as I want, really, because you've provided me with a ton of stuff. And then I can be done whenever I feel like it, or I can keep going, or I can skip to another topic. So it is really actually truly a helpful thing, man.
Steve, we got to get this on a clip and put this on a commercial for us. Is that cool?
Dude, I'd be happy to because I'm a huge fan. It's so funny. Like I didn't know about it. Like literally, I've only been following the newsletter for a few months because I just didn't know about it. And I heard about you and heard about it, and was so glad to have you on the podcast. But I am a genuine fan because I get a lot of value out of it. I think great brands solve a problem for real people. As a human being using your product, you are solving a problem for me and making my life easier every day because I'm extremely curious. It's why I do this podcast. I love research. I love learning about people. But like with all the different topics that are in 1440, I don't know what I'm going to be in the mood to read about in the morning. But now my habit is I go to 1440, I click on something, and I just kind of go down the rabbit hole for a minute. And then my curiosity is satisfied. Maybe I come back to it later. Maybe I don't. The problem you're solving of not being able to curate the stuff for ourselves, you're really actually solving it. So good for you guys.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate that dearly.
So anyone listening, please go it's free. Go sign up. There's no trick. By the way, let's talk a little bit about your advertising and how you do it, because I think that's interesting too. You obviously have advertisers, it's a business, but I think you guys do it in a really tasteful way. A lot of advertorials, how they're done in other media environments, can be a little sleazy now and then, to where you can't tell as easily that it's an advertorial. But I love how you guys will have, it's a slightly different look in the newsletter. You can tell it's a sponsored article, but it has the same sort of educational feeling. And they're not the usual suspects in advertisers. It's usually somebody I wouldn't normally hear from elsewhere. So how do you choose your advertisers? How does this all work for you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, just like with our product, it gets back to like transparency and like, delighting the user as well. So, what we find from them is every product we've ever represented, someone on our team has used before. So, like, we don't want to do like any snake oil because, like, if you sell snake oil once, they're not only is that person never going to buy anything again, they're never going to come back to our newsletter because they don't trust us, right? Like, trust is the most important thing in the media world. So, we know that responsibility. We hold it very dearly. So we just make sure that, like, the Motley Fool is one of our clients. Like, I use their product every day. It actually, like, I've made a ton of money by their stock picks, right? And like I take the vitamins we sell, and it's helping me try to be a better human every day. So like, we all use the products because, again, like, if you're selling something you don't believe in, like, it's not gonna end well. So, and then on the the buyer side, or the advertiser side, like, yeah, we have this incredible audience that's, again, a third of them have a graduate degree. It's 50-50 male, female. It's spread almost perfectly across the United States. It's
Yeah.
roughly a third Dem, a third Republican, a third Independent. Because
Yep.
they're pretty smart, they tend to be very affluent as well. And then because they're busy professionals, they don't have a lot of time. So they actually really like to learn about new products. Like, you'd be amazed how many emails we receive where it's like, hey, I know this sounds crazy, but I actually like learning about these new products in your ads, and I think you do them very tastefully. So thank
Yeah,
you
I do
for
too.
sending them to me. Yeah, we just try to work really, really hard at just making it a good experience. And then, like, the last thing too is going back to delighting the user is there are some folks in our space that have like 7 or 8 ads in these newsletters, and I actually think some people have more ads than content. Yeah, I don't think that's going to end well for them, right? And I think you're already
Right.
seeing like their performance slide. The average consumer gets it, like they watch TV, they know how, like, oh, you got something free, like there's ads with it, right? So they get it. But we just try to be very, very mindful of how do we have the ads in there, how do we teach the make sure they're real, trustworthy products, but then also not bombard people with them, because you could bombard people, you can increase your ads 20%, but then your retention rate's going to drop 50%. Is that what you want to do in the long term? So again, back to my original thing, we're always trying to think decades in advance and just how do we monetize the business but don't be greedy. And also, like, one of the things, like, I think I've actually talked about this before, but your time and attention is monetizable. And actually, if you
Yeah.
look at Facebook, and if you look at most of the publicly traded companies that give you like the minutes in their revenue, your time's worth about a penny a minute, right? So if we were purely focused on revenue maximization, we would have a longer newsletter. We wouldn't be as efficient. So we'd juice up our revenues for a while, but then all of our customers would leave because we're not serving them anymore. So is that the best thing to do long term? No, it's not, right? So yeah, I think, like, it's a really important part of our business, and it funds all of our growth and allowing us to
Yeah.
invest in talent. But I think you got to do it the right way. Otherwise, the readers are going to not be there to click on it, and that's not going to end well.
I love the mindful approach though, because some people just can't resist monetizing, like crazy, or having longer, more ads, and, thinking the audience is going to put up with it. And, being a consumer of your newsletter, the ads are tasteful. I've clicked on a few, and I'm not, I'm in the advertising business. So I'm about as jaded an audience member with advertisements as you're going to get. But because of the way they're presented, I feel like it's respectful. It's like, here's some actual content about this product. If you're interested, click here, which I agree with you. All of us know if something's free, there's going to be some ads. But I love the way that you all are doing it, because I think if people were more respectful to audiences, you get better results. And, if we're all just a little less greedy, maybe we could be a little bit more mindful.
There we go. I love it, Steve.
The name 1440, I bet a lot of people are listening right now being like, are they going to tell me what it means? Like, so can you just briefly, where'd you get the name and what does it mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So 1440 was the year the printing press was invented, when knowledge was exploded to the masses. It's also the number of minutes in a day. So, like, we're trying to make each one count. So, like, if you look at our value proposition, it's knowledge and efficiency and time. So we thought that was a wonderful name to lean into.
That's awesome. I love the name and I love what's behind it. I think it's absolutely perfect. From a brand point of view, the brand, I love what you've done with the brand. It's simple, it's credible, it's very concrete, it's sticky. Like, I'm all in with it because I just love it. I think you guys have done an excellent job.
Thank you, sir. It means a ton, especially coming from you. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's all instinct or you worked with someone or if it's just you guys. You can tell your team is highly intelligent and really committed, because the newsletter it has a personal feeling. It doesn't feel like I'm getting a corporation talking to me. It feels like there's a bunch of smart people helping me be like, hey, you might be interested in this, or here's this thing that I like, which I think is cool. It's hard to get to come through in a newsletter.
Appreciate that. Love it.
It's really neat stuff. So let me get a couple more questions and I'll get you out of here. So what's next for 1440? I've been curious about this. Are you, maybe you would do like very specific sports newsletter, this newsletter, that newsletter, or is it going to be something big, or is it just subscriber growth for, mindful growth for a long time? Where do you think you're headed?
Yeah, it's a great question, and we're continuing to battle with this every day. So in all scenarios, it's continue to deliver for the customer, and as I say, like startup parlance, keep the main thing, right? We think we have like that inch deep, mile wide market is very large. Like, there's 100 million Americans that read the news on their phone that are across all the political parties, 50-50 male female. So we think it's a big market. We're going to continue to grow into that, but we do think there's something bigger in here. We're not going to do the kind of thing that everyone else does, which is like tangential other newsletters. Like, a lot of folks have done that and didn't end well for a lot of them. So we always stayed away from that. I get why they did it, but we just didn't do it. We're working on a new product. I would love to show it to you. It's not ready yet. Maybe I can come back and we can riff on it.
Yeah, man.
But basically what it is it's leaning into what we do well. So basically, like, if you really break down what we do well, is we curate all this information across the internet. Exactly like you said, we summarize it for you so you can quickly take the knowledge away, or you can go down the rabbit hole. We're trying to build that at kind of like a bigger level, do a website and podcasts and that, and like, we're trying to lean into serving and helping the intellectually curious person become smarter more efficiently. It's what we do in our newsletter. It's the same thing, but how do we do that at like a bigger level? We're still working on it. So we've taken this idea and concept I think we've done a really nice job actually failing. Like we're really good at failing too. Is so we've taken it to market a couple times with a very small set of our audience, MVP'd it, and like nope, no product market fit. Come back, tweak it a little bit. So we've done that a few times. I think we finally have it now. So we're launching it later this year, but it actually only goes to a small percentage of our audience. But we look forward to showing it off to the world
Oh man.
pretty soon here.
Well, I'm excited, and if you want to come back and talk about it, whatever you guys are going to do next, I'm showing up for it. I love when I talk to people who've built brands where you can tell that your honest passion and what you're interested in and how curious you are is what built this brand. Anytime a great brand comes along, it's because they're fixing something. And the media landscape, let's face it, it needs fixed. And you guys have done a great job of saying this is going to be different and we're going to solve a problem for consumers. And God, talk about a really desirable demographic you're serving too. So yeah, just business model all the way through and how you treat the customer. Like I love seeing strong, cool brands. I get really excited. So I've been geeking out about your brand for like about 10 days, getting ready for this interview. So let me ask you a couple of questions about you. What would you name this chapter of your life right now?
Oh man. So I did investment banking for a couple years. Then I worked at a private equity venture capital firm for about 10 years. Learned a ton. It was incredible, like, seeing how companies operate at a very high level. And then basically 7 years ago, I decided to go out on myself. Actually, a larger private equity firm bought us. And
Yeah.
they were basically like, you can stick around, but it's probably not going to end well for you. Or here's an exit package if you want to go do something else. I always been very entrepreneurial. I had like a CD burning business in high school and a lemonade stand when I was a kid, and I was
Yeah.
always messing around with ideas. So yeah, I was kind of like, I was 33 at the time, 34, 33, and didn't have a high burn rate. And I was like, the universe is basically paying you to start a company. It's a really grateful and like privileged opportunity I had. So that was a part of my life. And then I think like building 1440, like maybe like 4 to 5 to 3 years ago was like a really part. I think now it's and I'm so privileged to be in this position, but it's just like it's so cool because like to your point about intellectual curiosity, like I get to learn as a CEO how we're building this thing. Like this is my first time doing this, right? Every year, every quarter, every week, you have totally different challenges. So like it used to be, how do you make a minimum viable product? How do you get one person to give us $1, right? And then like those things, there's all these different things. How do you hire the most talented people in the world? Now our challenges are more like, how do we get our brand out there so everyone knows
Yeah.
about it, right? How do we go from working with our wonderful direct response partners to like getting Fortune 50 advertisers, like the big companies of the world interested in our audience. So it's a totally new challenge, but like for me personally and our team too, we get to learn so much, and that's what we're all about, is like learning and helping other people learn. So for me, it's just, I think like it's just this continual learning journey. To summarize it in one sentence, because that was a ramble, I think we're kind of in like 1440 scale mode. Like we
Yeah.
still have a long way to go, but like, we've built the product. We have a really awesome user base. We have an incredible team. We have incredible partners. It's a big market. Knowledge is probably the largest TAM in the world. Maybe money, it might be bigger, but it's one of the biggest TAMs in the world. And to your point, like if you study history, like if you can serve the customer, which we do really well, in the TAM of knowledge, like we think there's something really big in there. So it's like trying to figure out what that is. So I think like TLDR, it's we're in scale mode, which is really exciting and really it's awesome. It's wonderful.
Oh, what a fun part of your life, man. I mean, and I love that you mentioned that you got a CD burning business and you've been an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 14 years old. I've always come back to running my own thing and having a company. So, I had the original DoorDash. I delivered donuts door to door when I was 14 years old.
Nice.
In the morning, I had all these kids working for me with bikes and little shopping carts. It was ridiculous. But I kind of feel like the fact that you were a young entrepreneur and you had all this experience is why you're having so much fun at this moment. Because, founding something, working on it, nurturing it from the ground up, you did that when you were burning CDs. You had to solve all those problems then, and now you're just doing it on a completely different scale. I love when I meet entrepreneurs that love the journey because it's always just something new every day. And you have to be a curious person that loves solving problems or you're just going to burn out.
Couldn't agree more.
So I think that's so cool, man. Two more questions, I'll let you go. What's something that you've changed your mind about in this experience? Something that you used to think is true and now you're just like, nope.
How much time do we have to answer this one? I think the biggest thing, and this is why I'm excited to continue to learn from you, is I think what I'm seeing is as we go from a couple million newsletter company to a knowledge company
Yeah.
is learning how to build an iconic brand. I think as I do this more, I realize how powerful, how true, it's one of the most powerful forces in the world. And to do it is really hard. But if you can do it and have that like moat with the customers and the readers and your partners, we're starting to feel that, and we have a long way to
Yeah, I bet.
go. But I don't think I truly grasped that when I was in private equity and investing, just like how important the power of brand is. So I think that's
Yeah.
one thing we're really trying to lean into and also improve on as we scale the company.
Well, I love that answer. Being a brand nerd for my entire life, and pretty much all I think about every day is brands. That like I love that answer because it is the most powerful thing, and it's a story. It's a story that people connect with, and they own your brand. It's what they tell themselves about you, and you can help with that. But like you guys have a really compelling story because I feel like you're reinventing something we all struggle with. So, man, good for you guys.
Thank you, sir.
So, final question, I'll let you go. And again, you're welcome back anytime you want because this has been an absolute blast for me today. If you could give your younger self any advice, what would it be?
Buy Bitcoin. Buy as much Bitcoin. Tell all your friends. I don't know. I don't know if I would take myself up on that because I think there's like beauty in like what you learned and failed at.
That's great.
If we as a team didn't fail at those things, would we be as strong? I don't know. I obviously like it's great to have knowledge and learn from those before you, but I think there's like some real beauty in I don't want to say the struggle, but like the messing up and learning from that. So I think that's how I'd answer that question.
I actually love that answer because as a lifelong entrepreneur, man, failing is so important.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you get good at it, then it doesn't phase you. You don't give up. You just fail and learn. And that's really the best way that human beings learn anyway.
Couldn't agree more.
Love that answer. Well, man, thank you so much for being on the program today. I just had such a blast talking with you. This was great.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a really impressive what you built over the years and continue to build. And if I can be helpful to any other entrepreneurs or any folks in the space, I love to try to like pay it forward. My email is just tim@join1440.com. Or if you reply to any email we send, it comes to me as well. I still read every reader email. So just reply to the email. And if I could be helpful or our team could be helpful in any way, we'd love to collaborate.
I hope every one of our listeners goes and signs up for 1440 because it is just quality. It's going to help you navigate all the incredible amount of information we have out there right now and all the noise. It kind of helps you cut through it. It's like having just an incredibly brilliant friend hook you up with what's interesting that day. Thank you guys. And thank your team too. I can kind of feel the work that's going into it. So thank you for that, man.
Thank you. And thank you for saying that. And yeah, our team is incredible and pours their heart into the product every day. And it's our key differentiator. So I really appreciate you saying that. And I look forward to passing that along to them.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate the time.
Want to hear more inspiring stories? Subscribe on your preferred podcast app so you don't miss an episode. And if you like what we're doing, please rate, review, and share. It's the best way to support us. Thank you for listening to Brand Story.